活動としましては、2014年以来の海外視察も検討しております。また、本総会の議案でお諮りいたします予算要望を外務大臣にお渡ししたいと考えております。活動報告は以上であります。
それではですね、これからは Wfp 本部と Wfp 協会を迎えての懇話会、これをさせていただきたいと思います。もうすでに会長が見事なご挨拶をいただきまして、難民急増の折の Wfp の役割の一層の重要性、そして要望活動も予算ベースできちっと行っていくというお話をいただきましたので、私から付け加えることはこれ以上ございません。
私もFGO の職員として内戦中のアンゴラで仕事をしておりました。また、国会議員の在職中も南スーダンの独立前、スーダンにも行きました。そうした中で WFP の活動、食料という分野での原発での活動をよくしておりますし、また、国連機、WFP の飛行機がなければ、そういう内戦中の国で活動できません。そういう意味ではですね、WFP が国連機関の中で最も現場に近い機関であるというふうに私も認識をしております。
そして本日は WFP 本部よりビーズリー事務局長おいででございます。立派な事務局長を迎えてのこの総会に続く懇話会でございますので、ぜひビーズリー WFP 事務局長にご挨拶をいただきたいと思っております。同時通訳がつきます。よろしくお願いします。Okay, we are now about to start informal discussion on the roles of WFP, and it is my great honor to ask you to brief us on the most important and recent missions of WFP as a Chief Secretary General of WFP. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here among a nation that has been tremendous allies and friends of my home country as we partner together in so many different ways to bring peace and stability and security around the world. And this position I now hold is not a position that I sought after. I did not, in my career in life, having been in the House of Representatives and from my state of South Carolina for 14 years and having been a United States governor, I didn't need a job nor a title. But friends in Washington and around the world came to me saying that the world's in trouble and there's no greater time period than now that humanitarian aid be used effectively. And so I'm here to give you the state of affairs as I see it today. The world's in trouble. The good news in the last 30 years is that many of you in this room working with leaders around the world have reduced hunger by several 100 million people. That's even though the population of the world increased from 5.3 billion to 7.5 billion. Hunger was reduced. People working together, being creative, being effective, reduced hunger by several 100 million people. But in the last year, for the first time in a very long time, hunger is on the rise again, and the answer to the question of why is simply man-made conflict. 82% of our expenditures today are in war zones. Yemen, Syria, Iraq, South Sudan, Somalia, Northeast Nigeria. There are 19 countries that are in protracted conflict now. 60% of all people that go hungry on any given day are in war zones. 459 million people, out of the 777 million that has now been increased to 815 million because of war. Out of those 815 million, 109 million of them are severely hungry, not knowing where they will get their next meal, on the brink of starvation. Out of that 109 million, we are able to reach 82 million. And not all of them receive a full ration. The question you must ask yourself is why? Why can we not feed all the people? The answer is simply the lack of funds. Now, as someone who comes from a politically conservative element of the United States, let me explain why I have taken this position. As leaders in the United States from the Republican and Democrat side came to me and said, please, will you assume this position? Because it is in the national security interest of the United States and of every nation on the face of the planet. And as I have come to understand now, the power and the influence that food has in the world, because food is being used today as a weapon of war and a weapon of division by extremists like Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and Boko Haram, and Al-Shabaab. People are deprived food and they are recruited to be a member, otherwise their children will die. We see this every single day all over the world, and especially in the Sahel region and the Middle East, the Sahel region of Africa. We know when there's development, sustainability, resilience, people don't fall prey to extremism and terrorism. But if they have good jobs and are well fed, they will not join Al-Qaeda and ISIS, Boko Haram, in these communities. So if I have said to my friends in Washington, D.C., if you want to spend another $500 billion on military, then cut the World Food Program. Because we are the first line of offense and defense against extremism and terrorism. And it is in the national security interest, but also it's the right thing to do. Children who have no hope, for whatever the reason may be, need hope. So in the World Food Program, we're wanting to ramp up because we believe that as terrorists and extremists use these fragile areas, they come in and want to destabilize, they infiltrate, destabilize, and then migrate with the hopes of destabilizing the global economy, going into Paris and Brussels and London and Berlin and the United States, and places like that. So the next frontier of extremism is in Africa, as ISIS is moving down and into these regions. We monitor this. We have people on the ground all over the place, so we see what's taking place. And if we don't get ahead of the curve, there will be a severe price to pay. And so as I say, we don't want to just give out food and hand out fish. We want to teach people how to fish. So every person that receives food from the World Food Program, we want them to be in a food for asset program. Building roads and bridges and schools, irrigation, farming, saving lives, but building livelihoods. And every child, we want that child to be in a school feeding program. Gender parity. In many of these countries where young girls and women are pushed aside, they'll be brought into the schools and get a good education, and it changes everything. And so the World Food Program, we now are participants with about 45 million children in nations all over the earth. And we want to ramp that up in such a way because we believe when children get a proper education, and when children sit down with another tribe and break bread together, they learn about one another and respect one another, the humanitarian values that you and I cherish. We might come from different political parties, but we respect each other, though we may have political differences. So we believe that hunger presents us with an opportunity to use food not as a weapon of war, as others do, but to use it as a weapon of peace, a weapon of building bridges, a weapon of unity. So we think there's a tremendous opportunity. I don't know how many of you may have heard 60 Minutes. It's probably the United States' strongest documentary, ABC. I was doing a show with them a few weeks ago, and I don't know what their audience is, maybe 100 million, 50 million, I don't know. But at the end of the interview, the host, Scott Pelley, he said, Mr. Beasley, he said, you have the greatest job on the planet. Keeping children alive. And I said, Scott, I do. I have the greatest job on earth. I said, but what I'm going to tell you is going to upset you. Something you've never thought about. And he looked at me with this strange look, and I said to him, I don't go to bed every night thinking about the children I saved. I go to bed every night thinking about the children we couldn't save because we didn't have enough money. You see, every day we have to make decisions which children eat and don't eat. So how would you like to decide which of your children don't eat? We've got more wealth in the world today than any time period. Fluid wealth, $300 trillion. We spend $2 trillion on military. I don't say that I'm opposed to the military. I come from an area of the United States we're very pro-military. But we have enough wealth to make certain that every child in the world doesn't go to bed hungry. We know in African countries where children don't get the necessary nutrition, stunting takes place, which will impact the GDP of that country from anywhere from 10 to 15% if they live. So countries like the United States and Japan, Germany, the EU, and others who have stepped up. I've heard comments, as you can imagine, that many Western and wealthy nations like Japan expressed concern that the United States was going to back down off of its commitment on humanitarian aid. You heard some of the news stories a year ago and with President Trump. You can imagine if the United States cut its humanitarian aid, the impact that it would have in national and international security. So as I began meeting with friends and leaders in the White House, as well as the State Department, the United States Senate, and the House, explaining to them, with our friends, Democrats and Republicans, coming together, understanding the significance, not only did the United States not reduce its funding, in fact, the United States increased its funding in the United Nations World Food Program from $1.9 billion to $2.5 billion for the year 2017. And so now I say to all my friends and leaders who've been questioning and concerned about the United States, that the United States will continue to lead, and it has not backed down, but it has stepped up. Why? Because it understands the significance and the importance of funding of programs that do, in fact, make a difference and bring sustainability and resilience so countries do not become fragile and destabilized, regardless of the reasons, whether it's climate change or extremists or terrorists. So now that the United States is not backing down but stepping up, now I need to ask you, will you step up? Because we have 30 million people that are severely hungry every single day, that are going to be prone to extremism and terrorism and a loss of a way of life and dreams shattered. And so this is where I say to Japan, thank you for what you have done so far. It depends upon the year, but Japan is either number 5, number 6, or number 7. You're now the 3rd strongest economy in the world. You've got to make tough decisions. Some of my friends in the House and the Senate, just in the past few months, based on their committee chairman, had to reallocate funds and had to make some hard decisions. But one decision they made that was difficult to some of their other friends was they didn't back down on their commitment of understanding the importance that the World Food Program plays in the international and national security interests of nations around the world. And so my thanks to you is very deep to my heart for all that you have done so far. But now is not the time to retreat, because we will pay a dear price if we retreat from helping these innocent children around the world, because the economies of the world will be destabilized if we allow extremists to have their way. But if you work with us as you've done in the past, but I'm asking you to even do more, because I'm afraid the price will be severe if we don't. This is why other nations are beginning to step up more. And let me just say this, there are other nations that should do more. And there's some nations that aren't doing much at all. For example, like Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states. They should be picking up the humanitarian crisis in their own neighborhood, like Syria and Iraq and Yemen. But they don't. Pittance. And when they don't, countries like Japan, the United States, and Germany, the UK, and Canada, and others step up, which takes money away from development, and countries are not at war. You see, food security is not just another issue. It is the fundamental right of every human being. And I've been proud of my friends around the world that come from different parties that are coming together to rise above the political divisions and religious divide, to say we will come together to help the innocent children who need us at a time like this. And so, your former chairman of this group is an old friend of mine. I don't know if he knows I have this position yet, so I can't wait to see it, but I heard about he insisted upon you. Why did he insist? Because he understands the importance of food security to the world. Because we know we're on the ground every single day feeding over 80 million people. When people go hungry, they migrate. When people go hungry, they do things they otherwise would not do. You see, when we feed a Syrian in Syria, it costs us 50 cents a day. That's actually almost double the normal cost, but the cost of war. But what does it cost to feed a Syrian and all the humanitarian support necessary for that Syrian if they're in Berlin? I can assure you it's not 50 cents a day. In fact, it's almost 50 euros a day. So you can see why a country like Germany went from giving the World Food Program $65 billion a year to now $850 million a year. There are four things we need from the people in Japan. One, we need more funds from the traditional methodology of the government, because it is in the national security interest. And Japan is a wealthy nation that has been very successful and is willing from the heart to give back to the world, to those who need help. The second area is in the private sector and corporations that have been stepping up and helping us, but we can also do more. The third is we believe that millennials can use this right here. Imagine if you have 40 million millennials given $2 each a year, or $3. Imagine. That's why we've developed programs working alongside you in Japan, very innovative, creative with technology, share a meal or food delivery. But the fourth area is, I don't think there's a country that has more creative and committed and dedicated people in the area of technology and success than Japan. So we want to take advantage of that expertise. That's one of the reasons I always love coming here. This is not my first trip here. I've been here many times over the years. I love the people, and I love the food, and I love the culture, and I love your commitment. And now that I am in this responsible role, your relationship to me is even deeper, because we've got had years of experience as partnering together to address world hunger. The Sustainable Development Goal, number 2, to end world hunger by 2030, is not possible as long as we have the man-made conflicts and wars that we have. But if we end the conflicts, and this is one of the issues that I call upon the leaders of the world to slow down and just focus on 1 or 2 conflicts and end this one and end that one. And if we can end some of the conflicts, it'll free up the funds that we need to address poverty and end world hunger. Because there is the expertise and the commitment of men and women like you all around the world that want to work together for the better of humanity. And so, Mr. Chairman, I say thank you for allowing me to share with you. I speak a southern dialect of English. I hope it didn't cause too much translation issues, but thank you for letting me be with you, and thank you for everything that the people of Japan are doing through its representatives. So thank you.
Thank you indeed for your very passionate and thought-provoking opening statement. You made many important lines, including the fact that this is not the time to retreat. That's a very important message. And also there is this humanitarian aspect, security aspect, and 80% of victims are in war zones. And so thank you so much for your
私たちの共有する目的は、第二次世界大戦以降、今が史上一番難民が多いという世界情勢の中、難民の方々に食料、必要物資を届けている国際機関が WFP であり、WFP の活動を国会の中でしっかりと支えているのが私たち WFP 議連ということを共有したいと存じます。私たちの議連のより積極的な活動が地球上で困っている難民の人たちの命が救われます。その上で日本の国際社会での貢献による存在感をしっかりと示すことで、より発展的で建設的な外交にもつながると考えています。また日本企業の貢献を我々議連が多層的に後押しすることにより、我が国の経済活動の発展、そして SDGs持続可能な開発目標に向けて、特に飢餓ゼロを目指して皆さんと共に取り組んでいきたいと考えております。最後に、私たちの議連の主要な活動といたしまして、年1回の総会、これは WFP の本部から役員さんをお迎えし、協会の皆さんにも今後参加をしていただきたいと思います。そして政府に対して議員の皆さん、先生方と一緒に要望に外務省に行きたいというふうに思っております。また場合によりまして、難民キャンプ等のですね、海外視察も皆さんのスケジュールを聞きながらやっていきたいと思いますので、よろしくお願いします。会員の先生方、そして関係者の皆様のご尽力とご支援によりまして頑張っていきたいと思います。どうか